DAW Talk. This is DAW Talk. Yes, welcome to DAW Talk. This is DAW Talk. This is DAW Talk with X.E.L.O. Yes, welcome back to DAW Talk. If you haven't already, make sure you guys are liking and subscribing to the video. We're on the road to 20K subscribers. And today what I want to do is actually talk about Ableton Live 12.2 just released. So there's a couple of new features in there that I think people will be kind of attracted to. So let's go and check it out and see what they've done. Let's go. All right, so here's a video from the Ableton site. I believe this is the Ableton YouTube, where they are showing a couple of new things that they've added in here. So let's go.
Ableton Live 12.2 brings huge additions and improvements to Live. Let's take a look. Over on this track, I have some chords. Let's highlight a region, right-click, and use the new Bounce to New Track feature to automatically render the selected content.
All right, so I didn't know that Ableton didn't do like a bounce to clip like that. I didn't know they didn't have that feature available. That's very interesting to me that they just are adding this now. It's something that I've used inside of Cakewalk and also inside of Reaper. So it's kind of interesting that it wasn't inside of Ableton that way.
The audio. Let's click on this clip, hit R to reverse it, and create a sweet fill. Sounds great. Let's double click on this track to open the device view. On this track, I'm using the new Max for Live Expressive Chords device. This allows us to create lush sounding chords out of single MIDI notes. Here I can transpose the chords up and down to fit whatever key I'm in. I can click on this keyboard icon to show how the chords are being played on the keyboard. If I want to work with a different set of chords, I can use the hot swap icon to open up the browser and select a different preset.
So does that actually change the bounce chord as well, or is it just the chords at the top? That would be a good way to kind of look at it. If it does change the actual sound, even though you bounce it, that's fire. But if it's just like you bounced it and it's on another track and it's not the same, then you know, I guess it's still cool. But yeah, I didn't know you couldn't do that before inside of Ableton as well. I thought you had that option to change your sounds all the time. So learning something new every day. So I guess this the custom chords is something that's new in there, like a new little box that they have that'll allow you to actually change chords really easy. Very interesting. I kind of like it. I usually do this inside of the piano roll inside of Reaper. If I want to change like the chords, it'll change all the chords in there. So I guess it's kind of that same feature, but with the little box instead. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Okay, so it did not change that sound. It is still the same sound, and he reversed it, so it just sounds like it kind of blends in with it. I gotcha. All right.
Let's take it back to the default for now and transpose it back up to my key. I'll close out of the browser as well. At the bottom are different controls that affect how the chords are being played. Tilt changes the weighting of velocity across a chord. Positive values emphasize high pitches, and negative values emphasize low ones. Invert selects between different permutations of the chord. And strum affects the timing of the notes.
Yeah, that's pretty dope that they have an invert, so you can kind of invert your chords. Like when you're playing your chords, it'll invert it by turning the knob. It's interesting to do it with the knob, but it is what it is. The strum, of course, you know, you can strum your keys, lay them out, you know. Is there a way to like bounce them out after you do this stuff inside this chord expression? Is there a way to kind of lay it out in like MIDI format? That would be a question that I have.
The strum effect is determined by the articulate parameter. To really see what's going on, let's click the blue arrow and open up the articulation editor. Each slider represents the timing for a note in the chord. And if I want to edit an articulation, I can manually drag the sliders to achieve the effect I want. I'll adjust the sliders here, pause for a sec, and then preview, and hit save to write it to the articulation. I can reverse the order of the notes played with the arrows icon, and quantize the timing of the notes with the metronome icon. To add even more movement to the sound, let's go to the Modulation tab. Here I can set different mod sources to affect each of the parameters of the device. We can also randomize the variation here. Expressive chords also allows you to import chords from clips, allowing you to use your own custom chord progressions. Let's reduce the
That's pretty dope that you can actually use your own chord progression in there if you hit on the import. So if you have like a whole bunch of, I guess, like chords already just laying around, you just kind of put them in here and kind of have them going through this express chords. I think that's pretty cool.
random variation slightly. Great, I'm happy with the sound of the chords. Let's zoom out in the arrangement and move the loop bracket to the right to start playing with this bass sound. Over on this bass track, I have the new and improved auto filter device. Auto filter now has a spectrum visualizer, which makes seeing which frequencies are.
And once again, I didn't know it didn't have a spectrum analyzer on it. I thought this was already in Ableton. Like the more I watch these other like videos of DAWs through these DAW talk things, I get to realize how much things are not up to where I thought they were. So it's very interesting when I kind of go through these videos and see these things.
Affected a lot easier. Let's turn up the resonance to accentuate the frequencies around the cutoff.
And it looks like they have this sidechain now. That's pretty cool. You can kind of sidechain it a lot easier just by clicking on this, it looks like. And I guess this is how you hear it back with the little headphones there. Interesting.
We can also toggle the steepness of the filter between 12 and 24 dB an octave. Above that, we can change the filter type. This includes classic filter types such as low pass, high pass, band pass, and notch. Let's switch to the morph filter type. Some filter types have additional parameters which give you more control. New filter types include the DJ filter, which emulates the classic low and high pass filter found on Pioneer mixers.
Oh.
The comb filter creates many peaks and notches throughout the frequency spectrum, creating a phasey, smeary effect. We also have the resampling filter, which creates a bit crushing effect. We have the notch plus low pass filter, which gives you a combination of the two filter types.
See, this is for the people that do a lot of sound design, where I'm not in that realm at all to do sound design and stuff. I guess this is where Ableton like really thrives, but I know this filter has a lot of cool things in there. It looks like a lot of this can be done through automation through different DAWs. I believe you can do this inside of Reaper and inside of Cakewalk. I'm pretty sure you can actually do this inside of Bitwig as well with these kind of filters and things they have in here. So it's good that Ableton is stepping it up for that aspect of it, because this is where they really thrive.
Finally, we have the valve filter, which creates a really cool talkie effect. Let's switch it back to the classic low pass for now. I want to add some distortion to the sound, so let's turn up the drive. Uh-oh, we're starting to clip. Let's turn on the new soft clip within AutoFilter to reduce the peaks. We can also reduce the output of the wet signal. That's better. We can also try out a few different analog style filter circuits to create different flavors of distortion. Awesome. Now,
Truly a sound designer's dream, Ableton.
I'd like to add some movement to the filter cutoff, so let's turn up the envelope. Now the volume of the bass modulates the filter cutoff, which we can see in the background of the visualizer. I can make the envelope negative to reverse the movement. I can adjust both the attack and release times to really dial in the movement. Hold to make sure the entire attack phase is completed before moving on to the release. Turning it off gets us to the release sooner. Turning on sample and hold will quantize the movement. This is great for adding a rhythmic effect. In addition to using the bass sound itself as the mod source for the envelope, we can also use an external source in the sidechain panel. Let's open it by hitting the arrow, selecting external, and setting our source from the drums.
There you go. So they have an awesome little drop down for side chaining. That is dope. And you get to choose whichever one you want it to be on. I think that's pretty cool. So you can actually side chain it a lot easier to actually go with the envelope that you just made for this auto filter. That's pretty dope.
Let's turn sample and hold off for now and lower the attack to accentuate the effect. Excellent. You now hear the kick and snare triggering the envelope for the filter. To really dial this in, let's solo out the bass track and click the headphone icon to hear the sidechain input. Cool. The mix lets us adjust the balance between the internal and external signals for triggering the envelope. Let's add some gain to the sidechain input. Let's turn on the sidechain filter and change the type to a low pass so that only the kick affects the filter envelope. Awesome, it's sounding great. Let's turn the headphone icon off and hear it in the mix. Cool. Let's turn the envelope back down to 0 and start playing with the LFO amount. We can also play with the rate to change the LFO speed. There's many LFO shapes to choose from, including the classic sine, triangle, saw, and square. Ramp up is a saw shape that always starts at the filter cutoff position. Ramp down, which always ends at the cutoff position. Wander, which creates some randomized movement in the sound.
Randomized.
And sample and hold, which creates movement in discrete steps. Most LFO shapes feature a morph parameter, which allow you to bias the LFO shape.
Once again, this is for the people who like sound designing. All these like filters that they have in here, it's cool, but it's not my thing. And it's like they have a couple of more things in here. Let's check them out. But it looks like a lot of the other stuff is modulators. So I'm going to go to the browser improvements. Let's see what that's about.
Let's open up the browser, go to our samples, and show the filters. I'll go to sounds, voice, and see if I can find a vocal loop. Let's click here and hit rank to show our most used vocals. Okay, this one's kind of interesting. It sounds more percussive than a voice to me. So let's use the new quick tags and add our own percussive tag and get rid of the solo voice tag. I'll then open up the tag editor to create my own custom tag for this. Let's call this wonky and add the wonky tag to this as well. Let's see what other sounds we can find that are similar to this. Okay, that's interesting. I'm liking the results of this search. So let's save it as a user label for easy access in the browser. I can even right click on it and give it its own custom icon. Cool. I'll use this loop and drag it into the section. I like to make this a little bit more melodic. So I'm going to mute the melt stabs for a second, go to audio effects, and use the spectral resonator. Spectral resonator can now be tuned to the current scale. So let's turn that on.
Okay, so you can actually tune the sounds you pull in here to the scale. That's pretty cool. I like that. So any sound that you have, you can kind of just make it go to the tune of whatever you're doing.
Also quantize all the harmonics to use the current scale to make this sound like it's playing chords. Let's switch the frequency control mode to scale degrees and play with the pitch. I'll play with the stretch and maybe lower the number of harmonics to give it a low pass effect. I'll turn up the unison to make it wide and turn up the decay to
once again, sound design, sound design, sound design.
Make it longer. Let's hear it with my melt stabs. Feels pretty good. Now I'll solo out this track. Go back to my...
I'm going to be honest with you, this sounds horrible. As much as he's trying to big this up, this is not it. All right, so pretty much that was Ableton 12.2. As you see, a lot of modulation, sound design things they've added into Ableton, but I'm not much of a sound designer, so it wasn't really appealing to me. I do like the fact about the bounce the clip kind of thing that they have now. That does help out a lot. I didn't know it didn't do it before, but now that I know it does it, it is a helpful thing. I do it all the time inside of Reaper. I also do it inside of Cakewalk as well. So it's something that I'm used to, but I didn't know Ableton did not do that bounce in place. That's very, very interesting to me. I think the expressive chords is really dope. The fact that you can actually change a lot of the things right from that little box is really cool. You get to see the keyboard. You get to see any of the steps that you actually made in there. You get to have an option to change the chords by pitch or whatever, however you want to actually have it set up inside of that MIDI section. I think that's really, really cool as well. But like I said, a lot of filters, a lot of updates to their filters as well is what it seems like Ableton 12 is all about. I don't think it's much to write home about. I don't really feel the browser updates that they've done has been a significant change by adding, tags and looking for things in the search and then adding it to the side. I mean, it's not anything that I'm like, okay, yeah, that's the reason to get the, Ableton browser kind of thing. I'm pretty sure that it's still nowhere close to Reaper's, but to each his own. I know there's a lot of people out there that love Ableton, love the way it looks, love the way it kind of comes together. I've never been a real fan of how Ableton looks. The stuff on the right-hand side always threw me off every time I've ever used Ableton. It's just so weird. I do like the browser on the left-hand side. I do like the modules that they have that you can have them at the bottom. I'm glad they finally gave you an option. You can put the mixer inside the same view with all the other tracks instead of it only being on the launcher page. I thought that was really weird. You couldn't do the mixer at all inside of the other section. So now they actually have that as well. So yeah, Ableton is kind of moving in the right direction. Hopefully they can get some more things in there that'll appeal to more people. But as it is right now, it's just not something that is making me gravitate toward it. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know below in the comment section of this video, right? And if you guys are looking for any mixing or mastering, definitely hit your boy up, XELOHH.com. And on there you can see a couple of placements that I have, a couple of songs that I've done, and I have some mixing and mastering available on that page as well. Just click on there and send me a message and we'll get some mixing and mastering done for you. And that is XELOHH.com. All right. And with that being said, that's pretty much the end of this video. I want to thank you guys for joining me for DAW Talk. If there is a DAW that you want me to review, leave it below in the comment section as well. And once again, it's your boy, X.E.L.O. Till next time, people. Peace.
AutoRewind.